Camilla stepped off the long morning flight with a calm look on her face as she carried a small travel bag in her left hand and gently held the hand of a young girl walking beside her. The girl wore a soft blue coat and a small white scarf wrapped neatly around her neck. Her eyes moved with quiet curiosity as she observed the wide bright hall of Heathrow Airport. She stayed close to Camilla as if she trusted her completely. Camilla kept her steps steady while guiding the child through the crowd. Her plan was simple. She wanted to take the girl home safely without attracting any attention. She believed that if she kept her head down and moved straight toward the exit, no one would notice who was walking beside her. She had spent months caring for the girl in private, and she promised herself she would protect her from any stress or noise during their journey. However, Heathrow Airport was never a place for quiet movement. Travelers spoke loudly while rushing for luggage. Screens flashed flight times. Trolleys rolled across the floor with a steady rhythm. Staff moved in organized lines. Camilla hoped all this movement would help them blend in. The girl walked with natural innocence and held Camilla's hand tightly. Her hair was tied in a clean ponytail. Her steps were small but confident, and she trusted Camilla without hesitation. As they reached the passport check, Camilla handed over her documents with a polite smile. The officer glanced at the papers, then looked at the girl. He nodded without suspicion and allowed them to move forward. Camilla felt a small relief in her chest. She silently believed the hardest part was over and that they could soon leave the busy building. But she did not notice a tall royal guard standing near the security corridor. He wore a dark uniform with polished buttons and a sharp posture. His job was not only to watch the crowd, but also to notice small details the average person would miss. His eyes moved calmly across the stream of passengers. When he looked at Camilla and the child, something inside his training urged him to take a second look. At first he could not understand why the girl caught his attention. Something about her face seemed familiar. Something about her posture reminded him of someone he had seen during many public events. He frowned slightly while observing the pair. The girl clung to Camilla with natural affection. She did not look uncomfortable or scared. Yet the guard felt a sense of recognition. He took a slow breath and stepped away from the wall. He began walking toward them with long measured steps. Camilla noticed a movement from the corner of her eye. Her heart tightened a little, but she forced herself to stay calm. She did not want to alarm the girl. She continued walking toward the exit while whispering a gentle instruction for the child to stay close. The guard reached them before they could leave the terminal. He stopped a short distance in front of them and spoke in a firm but respectful tone. He addressed Camilla politely and asked her to stop for a moment. Camilla paused and turned toward him with a composed expression. Her grip on the girl's hand remained soft but secure. The guard lowered his head slightly as a gesture of respect, but his eyes studied the girl more closely. The calm look on the young face made his suspicion stronger. He asked Camilla if he could confirm the identity of the child. His voice stayed professional, but Camilla felt the weight behind his words. She gave a short answer and explained that the girl was her niece who had been staying with her overseas. The guard listened, but did not move aside. He asked for the child's name. Before Camilla could speak, the girl looked up with innocent eyes and spoke her name in a clear, gentle voice. When the guard heard it, a small shock washed through his mind. The name matched the face. The calm posture matched years of training he had received while observing royal family members during events. He quickly realized that the girl standing before him was Princess Charlotte. Camilla felt a rush of worry in her stomach. She had hoped the long flight and quiet clothes would prevent anyone from noticing. She had cared for the princess for several weeks under special approval while her parents handled important matters. She was trusted with this responsibility because the princess felt safe around her. Camilla wanted to bring the girl home without any stress. She knew paparazzi at Heathrow could turn any small moment into a loud storm. The last thing she wanted was cameras flashing near the young girl. The guard softened his expression when he saw Camilla protecting the princess with genuine care. He understood she was not a threat. Still, he had a duty. He called another guard through his radio in a calm tone while keeping his eyes gentle toward the child. The princess watched him curiously but did not seem frightened. Camilla crouched beside her and brushed a loose strand of hair away from her face. She told her everything was fine and that they were just meeting some helpers before they left the airport. The princess nodded with trust. 2 more guards arrived. They recognized Camilla quickly and greeted her with respect. They confirmed she had permission to travel with the princess, but they still needed to escort them safely to a private vehicle. Heathrow was full of cameras, and if anyone noticed who the girl was, the quiet journey would turn into a loud scene. Camilla agreed politely. She lifted the princess in her arms to keep her close. The guards formed a small protective circle around them. They walked through a side corridor away from the crowd. As they moved, Camilla felt mixed emotions. She was relieved the guards recognized the situation and offered help. She was also slightly nervous because the peaceful plan she hoped for had changed. The princess rested her head on Camilla's shoulder with perfect trust. Camilla felt a warm responsibility in her heart. She promised herself she would always protect this child no matter where they went. The guards led them toward a private exit where tinted cars waited. The air outside felt colder, and the sky above Heathrow held a soft gray color. Camilla gently placed the princess inside the car and fastened her seat belt. The princess gave her a warm smile and reached for her hand again. Camilla held her small fingers with care. Before closing the door, Camilla looked back at the guard who first stopped them. She thanked him for being alert and for keeping the princess safe. The guard nodded respectfully and stepped back with a steady posture. Camilla sat beside the princess as the car engine started. She looked out the window and watched the airport fade in the distance. She wondered what unexpected events awaited them next, and she silently hoped the rest of the journey would remain peaceful. The car moved through the airport grounds with a slow, steady motion while Camilla sat beside the young princess and kept her hand gently placed over the child's small fingers. The calm, warm pressure made the girl feel safe and protected as the city came into view beyond the window. Tall buildings rose in the distance with soft morning light touching their sides while traffic moved in lines that looked almost peaceful. Princess watched everything with bright curiosity, and Camilla kept her voice low and comforting whenever she spoke to explain a passing bridge or the large field rolling by on their left. She wanted the ride to feel relaxed because she understood that the young girl had already traveled a long distance and needed calm, quiet surroundings until she reached home again. The guards sat in the front seats and spoke in short, controlled voices into their radios. They were informing higher authorities that the princess had been recognized at Heathrow and a safe escort was now in motion. Camilla listened without interrupting, but a small worry moved inside her chest because she knew that if the news spread too quickly, reporters might appear at any point, cameras could follow the car, and questions could start forming before they even reached the palace gates. She hoped this journey would remain private because the princess deserved a soft, quiet arrival rather than a loud public moment. The princess leaned her head against Camilla's arm and smiled with a trusting innocence that made Camilla's heart warm with responsibility. She had spent many days caring for the child, reading stories at night, preparing warm meals, and guiding her through the quiet routines of travel while her parents handled important duties far away. Camilla knew that the princess felt safe with her, and she wanted to keep that sense of comfort alive until the moment she handed her back into her parents' arms. As the car reached the highway, the guard in the front received a call that changed the calm air inside the vehicle. He listened carefully, his eyebrows lowered in concern, and he turned slightly while speaking to Camilla with a controlled, steady tone. He informed her that reporters had already gathered near the main gate of the residence and were waiting with cameras ready because someone at the airport had leaked the hint that the young princess was traveling with an escort. The news moved quickly, faster than Camilla expected, and she felt a small wave of tension move across her shoulders, even though she tried her best to hide it from the princess. The guard suggested using a side entrance near the service wing of the residence. It was quieter and rarely used by the press. Camilla agreed with a nod and asked if the path was fully secure. The guard confirmed that the area was being prepared and additional personnel would ensure a safe arrival. The princess listened without understanding the full situation, but she sensed the slight change in tone. She looked at Camilla and asked in a gentle voice if everything was all right. Camilla smiled with warmth and told her that they were just taking a shorter path home so she could rest sooner. The princess accepted the explanation with trust and continued looking out the window. The car moved off the main road and entered a quieter part of the city where small shops stood in neat lines and pedestrians walked with relaxed steps. The morning air felt clearer here, and the sound of traffic softened into small distant murmurs. Camilla felt thankful for the calm surroundings and hoped this peaceful stretch would continue until they reached the residence. She noticed the princess growing slightly sleepy and adjusted her coat so she could rest more comfortably. The child leaned her head on Camilla's lap and closed her eyes with a soft, tired breath. As the car approached the residence grounds, the atmosphere changed again when a sudden call came through the guard's radio. He listened with a serious expression and then looked toward Camilla with renewed concern. He explained that although the main crowd of reporters stood near the front gates, a smaller group had moved closer to the side entrance after hearing rumors that a different route was being used. Camilla felt her heart tighten again because she wanted the princess protected from any flash of light or loud question that could disturb her. The guards decided to adjust the route once more and take the vehicle through a service path behind the garden walls. It was narrow but safe and would bring them close to a private door used only by staff. Camilla approved the plan and kept her hand on the princess's back as the car turned into the hidden lane lined with tall hedges and old stone walls covered with vines. The path was quiet except for the light crunch of gravel under the tires, and Camilla felt a small relief returning to her chest as the residence finally came into view. They reached the private entrance where two more guards waited with calm alert expressions. The area was free of cameras and no reporters were in sight. Camilla lifted the princess gently into her arms and carried her inside the warm hallway lit with soft yellow light. The child opened her eyes halfway and smiled sleepily before resting her head on Camilla's shoulder again. Inside the residence, peaceful silence replaced the tension of the outside world. Camilla walked through the wide corridor and felt the weight of the long journey settle into her thoughts. She knew the most difficult part was over, but she also felt that something unexpected was waiting ahead. The guard who escorted them stepped beside her and quietly mentioned that a message had arrived from the palace staff only moments earlier. A message that required her attention. Camilla felt curiosity rise in her heart as she continued walking with the princess in her arms. She wondered what new information awaited her and why the timing felt so strange. She reached the sitting room where she was asked to wait and gently placed the princess on the sofa. The child curled peacefully as Camilla stood near the window and prepared herself for whatever news would come next. Camilla stood near the wide window of the sitting room with calm patience while the princess rested on the sofa with her small hands folded under her cheek. The child looked peaceful as she slept, and her soft breathing filled the quiet space with warmth. Sunlight entered gently through the curtains and painted a calm golden shape across the floor. The sight made Camilla feel brighter inside, even though she sensed something important was about to happen. The guards who escorted her stepped outside the door and waited in silence, leaving Camilla alone with her thoughts. She replayed the events of the morning in her mind, the moment the guard recognized the princess at Heathrow, the quick shift in plans, the route changes, the worry about reporters gathering too close, and the final relief of arriving safely inside the residence. She felt proud that the princess remained calm through everything, but she also felt uneasy because the message the guards mentioned still lingered in her thoughts. She wondered what could require her attention so urgently. She hoped it was not news that would stress the child. A soft knock sounded at the door, and Camilla turned as a senior staff member entered with a respectful bow. He carried a small envelope sealed with the official mark of the royal household. His expression was calm but careful as he stepped forward and placed the envelope in Camilla's hands. He informed her that the message arrived only minutes earlier and that it was meant for her eyes only. Camilla listened attentively and thanked him with a polite nod before he left the room. She looked at the envelope for a long moment, feeling a mixture of curiosity and concern. Then she opened it and unfolded the letter inside. The handwriting was neat and formal. The message stated that the princess's parents were returning earlier than expected due to a change in their schedule. They would arrive within the day, and they wished to meet Camilla immediately after they reunited with their daughter. Camilla felt relief first because it meant the princess would be in her parents' arms much sooner. But the message also carried another instruction, one that made her hold her breath for a moment. The letter stated that there had been an internal concern regarding a small security leak related to the princess's travel arrangements. Someone had released information to the press without approval, and the timing suggested it happened while Camilla and the princess were still in transit. The royal household requested Camilla to meet with the head of security later to discuss her observations. They needed to ensure that all individuals involved in the travel process were trustworthy, and no detail was overlooked. Camilla felt a serious weight settle inside her mind, but she knew she could handle the discussion. She cared deeply for the princess and she would do anything to protect her. She folded the letter and placed it safely into her bag before turning to check on the child. The princess opened her eyes at the same moment and lifted her head slightly as if she sensed movement in the room. Camilla walked toward her with a warm smile and asked if she slept well. The princess nodded and reached out to her with small tired arms. Camilla lifted her gently and held her close while explaining that her parents would arrive soon. The princess's eyes brightened with excitement and she hugged Camilla with genuine affection. The child adored her, and that affection made Camilla feel grateful for the trust she had earned. She helped the princess freshen up, fixed her hair, and guided her to a small table where warm breakfast was placed. The princess ate quietly as Camilla sat beside her and answered her curious questions about the journey. Not long after, another guard entered the room and informed Camilla that the head of security was ready to speak with her. Camilla asked if she should bring the princess, but the guard assured her that a trusted caretaker had already been assigned to stay with the child until she returned. Camilla nodded and knelt beside the princess to explain gently that she needed to step out for a short meeting. The princess listened with calm understanding and held Camilla's hand before letting go with a warm smile. Camilla followed the guard down the hallway into a quiet office where the head of security sat behind a wooden desk. His expression was serious but not harsh. He invited her to sit and thanked her for the steady care she provided for the princess during the trip. Camilla listened respectfully as he explained the concern about the leaked information. He asked her several questions about the airport staff, the flight crew, and the people who saw her with the princess during the travel. Camilla answered every question with clarity. She described the officers who checked her documents, the passengers who walked near her, and the guard who recognized the princess. She did not accuse anyone, but she provided all details she remembered. The head of security nodded thoughtfully and made notes. He explained that the leak was likely small but still important. Any information about the royal child must be protected carefully, and every detail mattered for safety. After the discussion, the head of security thanked her again and assured her that she had handled the situation with calm responsibility. He told her that her cooperation made the investigation easier and that her loyalty to the princess was appreciated. Camilla felt a sense of pride, but also hoped the investigation would conclude smoothly because she did not want the princess affected by any of these issues. She returned to the sitting room and found the princess drawing pictures with colored pencils on a small notepad. The child looked happy and calm. Camilla's heart warmed as she sat beside her and admired the drawing of a tall tree with bright leaves and a small bird sitting near the top. The princess told her that she wanted to show this drawing to her parents when they arrived. Camilla smiled and encouraged her to add more colors if she wished. As time passed, quiet footsteps echoed in the hallway and the sound made the princess lift her head with excitement. Camilla gently took her hand as the door opened and a lady from the household entered with a soft smile. She informed them that the princess's parents had arrived at the residence and were waiting in the main room. The princess jumped up with joy and Camilla held her hand as they walked through the corridor together. The main room doors were opened with care and the princess ran forward as her parents entered with open arms. Both of them embraced their daughter with deep affection and lifted her as she laughed in happiness. Camilla stepped back with a warm smile as she watched the reunion. The parents thanked her with sincere gratitude for keeping their daughter safe during the journey and Camilla felt her heart soften with relief. As the princess stayed in her parents' arms, Camilla sensed that even though this reunion was peaceful, something important was still waiting for her beyond this moment. She felt that the day was not yet finished, and a new unexpected turn might soon appear on her path as the investigation continued and new details unfolded after the warm reunion between the princess and her parents. Camilla stepped quietly out of the main room and moved down the hallway with slow, thoughtful steps. The atmosphere inside the residence felt calmer than the busy morning at Heathrow, yet a gentle tension still followed her thoughts because she knew the investigation was not finished. The letter had clearly mentioned a leak, and the head of security had many questions. But something inside Camilla suggested that the situation might be deeper than it appeared on the surface. She sensed that the small spark of concern could grow into something larger if not handled carefully. The hallway was long and decorated with framed paintings that showed peaceful landscapes. Soft golden lights lit the area, and faint distant voices came from other rooms where staff moved quietly to manage the day's duties. Camilla paused near a window that overlooked the garden where tall trees stood with branches moving gently in the breeze. She placed her hand on the windowsill and tried to relax her thoughts, but the worry would not leave her. She remembered the moment at Heathrow when the guard recognized the princess. She remembered how quickly the news spread and how reporters moved near the gates even before they arrived at the residence. It all happened too fast, too perfectly timed, as if someone expected their arrival. A gentle voice called her name from behind, and she turned to see the caretaker who had watched the princess earlier. The caretaker informed her that the royal parents wished to speak with her again after they spent some time with their daughter. Camilla nodded respectfully and thanked her before continuing down the hallway. She did not know the reason for the second meeting, but her heart prepared for whatever news the parents might share. She hoped it was only a warm conversation about the princess's journey, but a part of her felt that something more serious was ahead. She entered a small waiting room and sat in a comfortable chair near a round table with fresh flowers placed in the center. The gentle scent filled the air and made the room feel calm. She waited patiently as time passed with soft, quiet movements. In the distance she heard faint laughter from the princess, which brought a warm smile to her face. The child's happiness always gave her strength and reminded her why she worked so hard to protect her. Soon footsteps approached the room and the door opened slowly. The princess's mother entered first with a warm, gentle expression, followed by the father, who carried a serious, thoughtful look. They both thanked Camilla again for taking care of their daughter during the long trip and asked her to sit with them. Camilla listened carefully as the parents explained that the security team had discovered the first clue about the leak. It appeared that someone had taken a small photo at the airport from a distance and sent it to a press contact. The image was blurry, but the shape of the small blue coat worn by the princess made it recognizable. Camilla felt her heart tighten because she remembered the moment she tied that coat for the princess before leaving the plane. She had hoped that no detail would draw attention, but the world outside was always watchful. The parents continued explaining that the leak did not seem to come from inside the household, which gave Camilla some comfort. However, there was something else they needed to share. They gently mentioned that the head of security believed someone had followed Camilla and the princess from the plane to the passport check. The movement matched the path where the photo might have been taken. The parents wanted Camilla to describe the surroundings again. Every detail mattered. Camilla took a deep breath and recalled the scene carefully. She remembered standing in the passport line, the officer checking her documents, the guard who later recognized the princess, the passengers who walked nearby, the light from the large windows shining across the floor. She described everything clearly. As she spoke, the princess's father listened closely and asked if she noticed anyone holding a phone in an unusual way or turning back repeatedly as if watching them. Camilla thought hard, and after a moment she remembered a man wearing a dark jacket near the side of the line. He had looked at them twice, but she assumed he was just another traveler. She did not see him take a picture, but he stood close enough to attempt it without raising suspicion. The parents exchanged a meaningful look. Because the description matched the early findings from the security team, Camilla felt a sense of worry, but she also felt relieved that her memory could help. After the discussion, the parents thanked her again and assured her that she had not done anything wrong. They appreciated her honesty and her careful observation. They asked her to rest for the afternoon because the investigation would continue through the evening, and they might call her again if more information was needed. Camilla accepted the suggestion with gratitude and stood to leave. She walked back toward the hallway, but the worry inside her had grown heavier because she felt responsible, even though she knew the leak was not her fault. As she walked, she heard the sound of small footsteps rushing toward her, and before she turned, the princess ran into her with a bright smile and wrapped her arms around her waist. Camilla knelt down and hugged her softly as the princess spoke with excitement. She told Camilla that she had shown her drawing to her parents and they loved it. Camilla felt her heart warm at the pure joy in the child's voice. She held her gently and reminded herself that this happiness was what mattered most. The princess noticed the slight worry in Camilla's eyes and asked if she was tired. Camilla smiled and answered in a reassuring tone that she was only thinking about all the things that happened at the airport. The princess took her hand and asked if they could go to the garden for a little while. Camilla agreed because fresh air would help clear her thoughts. They walked together to the garden where the afternoon light rested softly on the grass. Birds hopped along the edge of the stone path and the trees cast calm shadows. The princess picked a small fallen leaf and handed it to Camilla as a simple gift. The kindness in the gesture made Camilla smile with true warmth. They stayed in the garden until the princess was called back by her caretaker for a short meal. Camilla watched her leave with a gentle wave and then sat alone on a bench beneath a tall tree. The breeze moved softly across her face and she felt a quiet moment settle around her. But even with the calm air outside, she could not ignore the thought that the person who leaked the information might still be nearby. Someone who watched their movements closely enough to capture a picture. As the sun lowered in the sky, Camilla stood again and walked back into the residence. She knew part 5 of this story would bring answers or new questions. Something told her that the truth was closer now, and the final pieces of the puzzle were about to appear as evening settled gently over the residence. Camilla walked through the quiet hallway with calm but alert steps. The soft lights above her created a warm pathway that made the long corridor feel safer than the noisy spaces of Heathrow, yet. Inside her heart she felt a slow rising tension because she knew the investigation was reaching its final stage. The head of security had already gathered important clues and the royal parents were waiting for a full report. She hoped the situation would end peacefully because the princess was finally relaxed and enjoying time with her parents. Camilla wished nothing would disturb that happiness. She reached the small sitting room where she had been asked to wait, the same place where she rested earlier in the day. She sat down gently and folded her hands on her lap while her thoughts moved in soft circles. She wondered about the man in the dark jacket who she had noticed at the airport. She wondered if he was truly the one who leaked the information or if someone else was involved. She remembered the way he looked twice toward her and the princess. The expression on his face was not angry or hurried. He simply seemed too attentive for a normal traveler, which now seemed more suspicious than before. After a few minutes the door opened and the head of security entered with a serious but calm expression. He thanked her for coming and sat across from her. He did not raise his voice or show frustration. Instead he spoke slowly as if choosing each word carefully. He informed her that the investigation had uncovered important details and the team was now confident about the identity of the person who leaked the information. Camilla listened with full attention while her hands tightened slightly on her lap. The head of security explained that the man in the dark jacket had been identified as a freelance reporter who often followed small tips at airports. He had no official pass to enter restricted areas, but he moved through open spaces easily and blended in with the crowd. Camilla felt a small wave of relief because it meant the leak did not come from someone inside the household or from someone who handled the princess directly. The head of security continued and said that the reporter had taken several blurry pictures while pretending to check his phone. He sent them to a small news agency which spread the rumor that the princess might be traveling through Heathrow. This information reached larger press groups quickly, which explained the reporters waiting near the gates. Camilla understood now why everything happened so fast. The reporter probably followed them from the plane exit to the passport line and noticed Camilla holding the princess's hand. However, the head of security was not finished. He leaned forward slightly and explained that there was still one more surprising detail in the investigation, something that Camilla needed to understand clearly. He revealed that another person had unknowingly given small clues to the press without realizing the impact. At first Camilla felt confused because she could not imagine who would do that. Then the head of security explained that a staff member at the airport had overheard a conversation between two workers about a young girl traveling with Camilla. The staff member repeated this casual detail to someone outside who happened to be connected to the press. The person did not think it was harmful, but the information completed the picture that the reporter already suspected. Camilla felt a small ache in her chest because she knew how easily harmless words could turn into large problems. The head of security reassured her that the situation was under control and that no one inside the household was involved. The airport staff member had already been questioned and instructed about privacy rules. The reporter had been flagged for improper behavior inside the facility and would face consequences from airport authorities. Camilla listened carefully and felt a deep breath of relief move through her body. She realized the leak was not planned by any dangerous group. It was just the unfortunate result of careless talk and a reporter eager for attention. The head of security then thanked Camilla for her patience and cooperation. He told her that her detailed observations played an important role in confirming the identity of the reporter and the timeline of events. He assured her that she had handled everything with great responsibility and that the royal parents appreciated her calm, steady presence during the entire journey. Camilla felt her shoulders relax for the first time since the morning. She gave a small, thankful nod as the head of security left the room. She walked out into the hallway again and felt the cool air brush softly across her face. She knew the day had been long and filled with unexpected turns, but now the truth was clear, and the worry that stayed in her heart since the airport finally began to fade. She made her way toward the main room where she heard gentle laughter. She stopped at the doorway and saw the princess sitting on the carpet with her parents, showing them her drawings and telling them simple stories about the journey. The sight filled Camilla with warm peace. The princess noticed her standing there and called her name with bright joy. Camilla stepped inside and the princess ran to her, wrapping her small arms around her waist in a loving hug. The parents smiled with deep gratitude and invited Camilla to join them. The princess held her hand and pulled her toward the small table where she had lined up crayons and papers. She wanted to draw another picture with Camilla beside her. They sat together quietly while the princess drew a picture of the flight. Camilla watched the child's soft, focused expression and felt a renewed sense of purpose. All her worries slowly settled into a calm memory. She understood that challenges would always appear around a child of such importance, but what mattered most was the safety and happiness of the princess who trusted her so deeply. As the night approached, the parents asked Camilla if she wished to stay for dinner with them to celebrate the safe return of their daughter. Camilla accepted with a warm smile because she wanted the day to end with peace rather than tension. They all gathered around the dining table while soft lights filled the room with gentle glow. The princess sat proudly between her parents and Camilla, holding her favorite small fork and eating with cheerful excitement. After dinner the princess grew sleepy and Camilla helped her to her room. She read her a short bedtime story in a soft calm voice while the child's eyes slowly closed. When the princess finally drifted into peaceful sleep, Camilla tucked her blanket gently and watched her for a moment. Her heart felt full with quiet emotion because she knew this child trusted her more than words could ever express. Camilla stepped out of the room and closed the door softly behind her. She walked down the hallway with steady, relaxed steps. The long day had come to an end and she felt grateful for the truth that had finally been uncovered. She also felt grateful for the bond she shared with the princess, a bond based on trust, care, and quiet strength. As she reached the entrance hall she looked back once more and smiled to herself. She knew tomorrow would bring new tasks and new responsibilities, but for now she carried with her the comfort that the princess was safe, happy and reunited with her family. And she felt proud that she had played a strong, steady part in protecting her world from the hidden eyes that had tried to disturb the peace.